Hey y'all, I'm DRBibliophile, and today I want to play a game with you guys. It's a game I'm sure you all know. It's the game of which of these things doesn't belong. Let me show you what I'm talking about. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just isn't the same. And I can never remember how it goes after that, so let me just hold these up one by one and show you what they are. First up, we have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, paperback edition, or There and Back Again. Wonderful. Number 2, we have The Hobbit, The Prelude to the Lord of the Rings, for the Nintendo GameCube, published by the Sierra Entertainment Company. Number 3, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, original soundtrack composed by Howard Shore. And last up, number 4, we have The Hobbit, directed by Peter Jackson, starring Martin Freeman. So, I ask you again, which one of these doesn't belong? Now, truthfully, you could probably come up with reasons for why each one of these doesn't belong pertaining to each, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to tell you instead of sitting here waiting for you guys to guess what it is. That would be a very boring video. This may come as a bit of a surprise to you, but honestly, the one that does not belong in that group of 4 is this. The Hobbit, There Back Again by J.R.R. Tolkien, the book. Now I really have you stumped, I'm sure. You're thinking to yourself, why doesn't the book belong with the other 3? Well, to put it simply and in one word, ratings. And now to be clear, I'm not talking about 5-star, 4-star ratings such as you would find on Goodreads or IMDb or wherever sites they use to rate soundtracks or IGN for video games, things like that. I'm not talking about that. I mean ratings determining the content of the product. For the sake of this video, I'm saying there are 5 forms of media. 4 of them I have right here. Those are music, video games, movies, and books. The 5th one would be television, but I obviously don't have a television version of The Hobbit to show you here today. Now allow me to discuss briefly the 4 forms of media that actually have a rating system in place and somewhat what they entail. First up, I'll go to music. This probably out of all of them has the least stringent rating system. All this will tend to carry is, say on iTunes it'll say explicit content, or oftentimes when a CD comes out it'll say the parental advisory notification. And what that'll do is it'll allow parents to realize that this may be something they want to monitor their kids listening to, and the only things that really stops is places like Walmart or other primarily family-friendly places will generally not carry them. I don't know if this prohibits the sale of something like that to minors. I'm not exactly sure. Next up is video games. In this case, for America, we have the ESRB. That is the Entertainment Systems Rating Board, or Bureau, one of the 2. And they designate a rating of either C, E, E10, T, M, or A to a video game. Elsewhere in the world, they have such things as the PEGI system with a very similar rating. Once again, these are all based on the content of the game. For example, this one right here says it's E for everyone, and it has violence and comic mischief. Next up is movies, and this is, of course, is the MPAA, or the Motion Picture Association of America. They will give a rating for a film of a G, PG, PG-13, R, NC-17, or in very, very rare cases, a actual given rating of X. Very similarly to the ESRB and PEGI systems, this gives, nowadays, a breakdown as to why. For example, The Hobbit PG-13, extended sequences of intense fantasy, action, violence, and frightening images. The 4th form of media to have a rating system in place is television. They have the FCC, and they will give a rating such as Y, Y7, etc., all the way up to TV Mature, once again, based on the content of the show. That's what those little letters next to the letterhead mean when it comes up. A D stands for suggestive dialogue, L for language, V for violence, etc., etc. But then we come to my favorite form of media, that being books and literature. These have no rating system in place whatsoever. There is nothing. Now please keep in mind, I am not in any way abdicating for the censorship of books or that a rating system should be put in place now, simply because that would be like a Pandora's box. It would lead to such travesties as books like The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn getting banned for reasons I don't care to discuss in this video. So no, before you leave a comment or anything, I am not advocating the censorship of books. However, I do wish way back when that at the time that the creation of rating systems for other forms of media had been placed, I wish even long before that there had been some form of rating for this wonderful form of media. To help further illustrate why I believe this, let me use a scenario, completely made up, names, fictional, everything, to help better illustrate my point. In this scenario, our protagonist is a girl of 14, 15, 16, one of those ages, named Caitlin. No, Katrina. We'll do Katrina. Katrina is very excited because she's heard of a very popular thing out right now called 50 Shades of Grey. Insert right here. Once again, I'm in no way abdicating the reading of this or promoting it or encouraging it in any way, but it fits perfectly in this scenario, so bear with me. She does not know a whole lot about what this is, but she sees that it's playing in her local theater, so she goes to buy a ticket. However, when she gets there, she's informed that the movie has either an R or an NC-17 rating, and because she is only 14, 15, 16, is not allowed to legally be sold a ticket without the accompaniment of a parent or guardian. A little bummed out by this, but not hugely, she decides to go to her local record store, one of the very few left in existence. While there, she discovers that 50 Shades of Grey has a soundtrack out. Kind of excited and just wanting to see if maybe this will give her a little more insight to what it is, she picks it up and takes it to the cashier. Insert here once again, I'm not 100% certain if something with a explicit content or a parental advisory, I don't know if that hinders it being sold to a minor, but for the sake of this argument, let's say that the shop owner is a very moral person and he has a company policy stated in big letters that he will not sell such things to minors. So, when Katrina goes to the front with her CD in hand and puts it at the cashier, he kindly informs her that I'm sorry, but I will not sell this to you without proof of ID or with a parent or guardian here. From the record store, she goes to one of her favorite places on earth, GameStop, just to see what kind of things they have. Once there, she gets the shock of her life by realizing that they have actually made, I sure hope this never happens, 50 Shades of Grey the video game. And not surprisingly, this carries either an M or an A rating. When she asks the cashier if she could see it, he kindly informs her that because of her age, he is not legally allowed to sell it to her once again without the accompaniment of a parent or guardian. By this point, Katrina is getting extremely frustrated and goes at last to her favorite place on earth, the local bookstore. While there, she sees this big display that has been created for the promotion and sale of the wretched book 50 Shades of Grey. Thinking this is her chance, she grabs the book, takes it to the cashier, and buys it without a problem. The cashier does nothing more than look at her, look at the book, ring it up, bag it, hand it to her, and wish her that she has a very good day. Now, why is it that in every other form of media of 50 Shades of Grey, she was refused to allow to see it, to listen to it, to play it, but when she is given a book, she's allowed to take it no problem? The reason this boggles my mind so much is I truly believe that books are the most immersive form of media, and I would be very sore-pressed, I believe, to find anybody that would disagree with me. Think about it. The time you spend invested in a book compared to a movie, a soundtrack, or even a video game. You spend so much time just even with the book, but then developing the characters in your mind, oftentimes thinking about the book and what you think about the book throughout the day, talking about the book with friends or coworkers or family, and you are just so much more immersed in the plot, the story, the characters than truly any other form of media. Some movies do a good job by immersing you in what they're doing. Some will keep you captivated for 3-4 hours if it's a really long movie and can do a very good job. But at the end of that, oftentimes it's much easier to forget because you haven't created the character image yourself. You haven't spent the sometimes 10 plus hours, sometimes a lot more, on a book. And it doesn't do quite as well. Music, I would say, would probably be the least immersive form of media, and I'm not knocking music in any way, I love it, but compared to everything else, it just doesn't have it makes you feel emotions, but not necessarily immersion. Video games, I would say, are probably the second most immersive form of media because you have so much control over your character, especially in games such as an RPG like Skyrim or Oblivion, where your very actions and your choices determine the outcome of the character. So this would come close to second, and that's why I believe there is such strict monitoring and filtering on them, because they realize the importance of protecting something that gives you that much of an immersion factor. I must not forget about television. Television is more immersive than movies, probably less immersive than some video games, simply because they can take a story and draw it out over a much longer period of time, and you can get attached to the characters much easier. All that now said, I come back to the point of why the most incredible and immersive form of media has no rating system. I go back to my scenario. Katrina just bought 50 Shades of Grey, and she took it home, didn't alert her parents or anything, and stays up late at night reading it and filling her mind with pardon, absolute and utter garbage. Now, I'm not saying that she wouldn't get in garbage by watching it on a movie or listening to a soundtrack with filthy language and vulgar things, or even especially playing a game where, God forbid, she's doing certain things to animated people. But I doubt you would disagree with me by saying that she feels much more connected and she's thinking about it much more in the book form. So to wrap all this up, I ask you, and I wonder myself, why was there never any kind of a rating system implemented for books? I mean, think, even if you will, the way they categorize books. Some children's books, quote-unquote children's books, should be young adult. And I've read several young adult books that by all means really should be adult. In fact, the last time I asked my librarian what makes a young adult book different from an adult book, is it content, what is it? Her response was, no, it's not due to content, it's actually due to the age of the protagonist. That's it! That is it. That is oftentimes what determines a young adult book. And to a degree, I do understand why they would do that. I wouldn't want to be an avid adult fiction reader and come across one or a whole series or section where it's all teenagers and things like that. I believe that would turn me off. So I agree that it should be categorized by that. But that's it. There's no way of filtering young adult from older young adult, if that makes any sense. Say like 14 to 18 or 19. I think of several book examples I've read where a young adult really, I believe, should have been an adult book. I have one such example called Outlaw by Angus Donald. This is a story about Robin Hood and his merry men and a boy that joins them. And so by the age of the boy, it is by default a young adult book, but the content of it is purely adult. No teenager really, deep down, you know just as well as I do, needs to be reading certain things. And once again, I don't want to get into reference. Now, I can't emphasize this point enough. I am not abdicating the censorship of books or that a big sweeping change should come in to tell you what should be read and who should be allowed to read what. I don't necessarily agree with that at all. What I do wish would happen, and honestly would be fine if this did, tomorrow or something, is that books would begin coming out with something very similar to the music industry, where it'll say on the front or on the spine, explicit content inside or parental advisory. Just something like that, so even just the casual bookshelf scavenger like myself at a library can see, okay, this looks intriguing, but with this on it, it may not be something I want to read. And if nothing else, it would give parents a much better gauge of what their children are reading. I don't really have any closing thoughts or statements, simply because this is more my observations of something I've noticed, but I really want you guys' feedback in the comments section below. Please tell me what you think about this. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm completely full of malarkey and never need to do another video like this again? Truly, I want to know. What do you think? Anyways, that's it for me tonight. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. And always remember, reading is the special key to take you where you want to be. Thanks, and God bless. Bye.